Ambassador Ross, you recently met with some of the families of the estimated more than 100 hostages who are still being held in Gaza. We had nearly 300 questions submitted for this program, and one of them is from Joel Silver in Maryland, who asks, what do you believe is the fastest and safest strategy to recover all the hostages held by Hamas and collaborators?
I do think there has to be a negotiated deal. They're not going to be freed by military action. I do think military action can create more of a squeeze on Yahya Sinwar and maybe give him a greater interest in a reprieve. But military action is not going to produce the release of the hostages. I think this is the 109th day, and while it's true there was one release, you still have 130 hostages. We don't know the exact number of those 130 that are still alive. We do know every day they're there, they're under greater risk. And as Gadi Eisenkot, who is a member of the War Cabinet, former chief of staff of the Israeli military, has said, your military answer is not the answer. So I do think the negotiation that is underway right now is important. You have Brett McGurk from the White House, who's out there talking to the Egyptians and probably also to the Qataris. I think the key here is to follow that path, and I do believe a deal is possible. Whether it's a deal that's going to resolve it once and for all, I don't know. But as I said earlier, I think if the focus becomes demilitarization of Gaza, as opposed to the eradication of Hamas, which frankly was probably never achievable, then I think that we could be looking at a different future, and I think it could be a vehicle for producing the hostages. And you can understand, I said when I spoke to a rally in Tel Aviv in favor of the hostages, their release, and to the families there, I said for the families, their life has been frozen since October 7th. Their every waking moment is preoccupied, not only with trying to get their family members released, but they're horrified by the conditions under which they're being held, and that in itself is a nightmare for them. And the Israeli government failed in its first responsibility. Its first responsibility was to ensure there were no hostages taken. So, having failed in that responsibility, it has an obligation to do everything it can to make sure that they get them released.